Traders, Cousin Benny coming to you from theclosingprint.com on May the 13th, Mother's Day 2018. In this edition of your weekend video newsletter, we'll talk about the indices and where they might be headed. We'll also discuss the changing character in the stock market in general, as well as macro issues that are pointing to further upside, perhaps with a short consolidation or flag in the short term. Most macro indicators are bullish. We'll look at some IBD 50 names as well as some MarketSmith 250 growth stocks. We have Bukowski with 5 of 5 green to start the week. His CPI signal has been green since April the 3rd, moving from 18.2% to 89.1%, which is bullish, with 6 bearish patterns, 49 bullish patterns, and 431 patterns waiting for breakout this week. Starting off with the NASDAQ, which had a very strong week due to tech and biotech. We have the cycle turning higher. Last week we pointed out the flattening of the rate of change in price action, which might lead to higher prices in the short term. We did get that, a follow through above the 50 period. We also have the moving averages crossing back up through the 50 now. And we're well off of the extremes so that we could have further upside in the short term after perhaps a brief respite to start the week. The S&P 500 spiders paint a similar picture with the rate of change flattening. As we based right underneath the 50 period moving average, we've since broken above. Our next pivot levels are this shooting star candle right where we closed basically last week, and the 279 level in the short term. The cycle has plenty of room to the upside before it gets to the extremes. Once again, with the fear of missing out trade kicking in, we could see that happen this week, maybe after a brief respite or a flag to start the week. So we'll be watching for all those scenarios in the short term. Suffice to say, all of the indices reflect the same measure of market sentiment. Here's the Wilshire 5000, a broad measure of market participation. It also broke higher, broke out of a descending wedge or triangle pattern. RSI has room to run to the upside. And once again, we see the cycle with plenty of potential before it gets back to extremes. So this looks pretty good to start the week. 5,000 stocks. I like the probabilities here with the Wilshire. The same goes for the New York Stock Exchange Composite. Breaking out. Moving averages crossing back above the 50. Price action closing above. Right at this pivot level. If we break above this pivot, the next bag holder level is up here at 12,963. And finally, the Russell 2000 IWM. This looks like an ascending triangle pattern with a flat top and higher lows. The cycle is clearly up and has a ways to go before it gets to extremes. Look for a breakout or a flag this week. Fear is also dissipating. We see the VIX dropping. Most likely we'll head back down into a normal range, which we've been pointing at as a possibility for the last several weeks. We're finally starting to see this elevated fear and volatility taper off that we've seen over the last 90 days. This is clearly evident in the VIX VXV ratio. This is the front month to the 3-month volatility index. As this continues to drop, this is bullish for equities. Once it gets down into the red zone, we'll start looking at some extremes. Each time we've dropped from above 1, we've bounced at this trend line. No exception this time around. Look for VIX VXV to continue to move lower if we are looking for price action to follow through like it has done in the past. As a measure of institutional sentiment, what institutions are actually doing. The only way this can rise is if institutions are buying more stocks on the uptick on a cumulative basis than they are selling on the downtick. We have the S&P 500 Bollinger Bands opening up. Nothing but green elder bars. We're in the upper part of the Bollinger Bands, and NYMO is moving higher. Tick Q for the NASDAQ gives us the same scenario. As price action continues to move into the upper part of its Bollinger Bands and they expand, look for price action to continue to bolt higher. If the lower band starts to turn up, that would indicate we might start to see some flagging action or a grind higher. We'll look for more of that this week. We have trend in the extreme area, and NYMO continues to push higher, all of which point to a more bullish scenario than bearish at the present time, with the caveat that we could always come back to the 20 SMA in the short term. So we'll be looking for some catalysts that might propel the market in either direction, which could come in the form of lower yields or positive news on the markets, etc., etc. Additional indicators that point to a changing character in the markets: if you have noticed that more stocks are breaking out to new highs, fewer are failing those breakouts. As a result, the new highs, new lows on the New York Stock Exchange Composite 2,000 stocks, a broad measure of market participation, continues to support a bullish resolution in the short term. With the New York Stock Exchange Advanced Decline cumulative line, the black line, pressing to all-time highs, with Bollinger Bands expanding here as well. The heat map has gravitated back towards yellows, lime greens, and greens, with real estate, technology showing the most strength. Exploration and production and oil asset class groups in the energy space also continue to show strength. Materials were strong last week, in addition to media stocks. We'll look for that to continue and look for these lime greens to start to turn more chartreuse, pointing to potential strength in XLV and healthcare as well. Additionally, Brazil was very strong last week. We have a number of international ETFs doing well. Russia continues to build a bullish trend, and all the Asia countries were looking good last week as well. The bulls are firmly in control, and volume that institutions have been buying shares as it moves higher. Okay, traders, that's going to do it for me. This is Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com. It is Mother's Day, so we're going to get out there and show Mom our appreciation. Have a great weekend. We'll post a watch list later tonight, probably around 9 o'clock, and some stocks that we're interested in trading right before the opening bell. So look for those in your inbox. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.